So I went out to my local comic shop and I bought this book right here, The Incredible Hulk #3. It's a good book. I enjoyed it. I like doing reviews like this because, as I said before, who has money to go out and buy a book if you're not sure whether you're going to enjoy it or not? Now, my review is no guarantee that you will enjoy this book. So because of that, I'm going to go to comicroundup.com. I'm going to take the worst review and the best review, and you can decide. I'm going to offer a little bit of commentary, and you can decide based on those two reviews if this is something worth you going out and spending your money on. So let's go to comicbookroundup.com. And the first review is from Matthew Peterson. Okay, so this is the writer of the book is Phillip Kennedy Johnson, artist Nick Klein, colorist Matthew Wilson, letterer VC's Corey Pettit, editor Will Moss, of course, Marvel Comics. And it goes on to say, previously in The Incredible Hulk, Hulk investigates the creature being worshipped in an abandoned mining town and finds a primordial horror as large as the mine itself awaiting him, using the town's residents as human shields, culminating in a battle between the Hulk and a monster unlike any he has faced before. But that's only the tip of the iceberg. Okay, shades of Immortal Hulk. And this book really does remind me of Immortal Hulk. I read Immortal Hulk #1. I went out and now I have issue 1 through 5. I haven't read the other issues yet. I definitely, Lord willing, plan on getting back to that. I think that's a good run from what I've read so far. Okay, it says, after a horde of undead zombies drag Bruce Banner into their unholy church and sacrifice him to their netherlord, it was the Hulk who got up. As the rotting congregation sings their hymns of praise, the green Goliath rips them to pieces, shattering not only bone and rotting flesh, but the structure itself. As he exits, a young girl named Charlie, who insisted on following Banner in his latest travels, tries to get Hulk to make her strong like him. The monster laughs her off and leaves her behind, only to change his mind when the collapsing temple causes a sinkhole and drags her in. Leaping to save her, Hulk finds himself underground, face to face with a Lovecraftian monstrosity known as Brother Deep. But all the Hulk really wants is to be left alone. I guess I should have said spoilers ahead. It's a good story. I enjoyed the book. I enjoyed the art, even though one of the things that the author of this article says is puzzling art choices. And I don't really understand why he came to this conclusion. Again, I enjoyed the art. Now, comic books and enjoyment, this is a bit subjective. I may enjoy something that you do not enjoy. You may enjoy something that I do not enjoy, which is why I chose to do this review in this manner. Get a review from someone who doesn't like it and a review of someone who does like it. You can meet in the middle, in between, and decide, which direction you're going to go. Okay, it says, on the surface, this book is clearly continuing the horror take that was established by Al Ewing's Immortal Hulk. And I agree, this is definitely playing on the momentum of the Immortal Hulk series, adding in a rural vibe that feels like something I should like, as it reminds me of Cullen Bunn's work on Harrow County's The Sixth Gun. For some reason though, the issue never quite gels for me. It did gel for me, but I think, and this is just my humble opinion, one of the reasons why this issue probably didn't gel with this author, the issue was kind of short. it felt like the issue could have gone a little bit longer than it did. But that just may be a preference thing more than an issue with the book, which I think definitely happens more often now than not. Books are judged by our preferences rather than whether it was actually a good book or not, because nothing is going to meet your every preference. There's always going to be something that leaves you like, oh man, I wish this or that was in there. The art is part of the reason, featuring a wild-haired bulbous Hulk that invokes Richard Corbin. Now, I like the way the Hulk was depicted in this book. I like the horror aesthetic of the Incredible Hulk. I've never been, as I said before, a fan of the Incredible Hulk in the sense that I actually went out to buy an Incredible Hulk book. That it just wasn't my thing. I have some Incredible Hulk back issues, older books that were given to me, but I don't think I ever, besides buying that Immortal Hulk series and buying this Hulk right here, I think this is the first time in my comic collecting over the years that I've actually went out and bought an Incredible Hulk book. Okay, it's hard for me to get invested in the central conflict with a 90s cartoon vibe, which I don't personally agree that it had a 90s cartoon vibe. I'm kind of struggling to see how he kind of came to this conclusion, just personal. A problem that is exacerbated by oversaturated coloring. Even the several story high Cthulhu impersonator in play, the battle is too stylized and too short to get invested in. Again, I definitely understand why he felt it was too short. There were a couple places where there was panels that didn't really have any dialogue at all, and it stretched, for a page or a page and a half, where you thought, probably could have been, maybe some more said. But again, I think this is primarily due to preference. The end of the issue with Charlie proving her worth to be bemused Hulk works well, but pacing throughout most of the issue just doesn't quite come together. You know what I think the issue might be? And this is something I think is more akin to the problem with attention spans. People expect a story to be wrapped up and spoon-fed to them in one issue. I think writers have to be given some credit. If I'm a writer and I'm writing a book, I don't want to give you everything at once. I do want you to do some guesswork. I do want to leave you hanging in some areas. I want something to draw you back in. And maybe it's hard to manage the desire to not give you everything, to draw you into the next book and to add some things in. Like it's a balance. But I think maybe our short attention span really lends us to the area where we want everything handed to us right away. And that's just not done in this book, but I don't think it was necessarily a bad thing. The bottom line, not quite hitting the mark. The premise that the mother of horrors is trying to return to reality through the monster hero has promise, but the Incredible Hulk #3 can't quite put pieces together with retro art fighting against the color palette, a plot that lacks some important connective tissue, but a strong ending coming together for 3 out of 5 stars overall. So it wasn't, the author doesn't seem to think it's the most terrible book, but it wasn't his most enjoyable. And I don't necessarily have some of the issues that he has as far as the story and the connective tissue. I think there were things purposely left out to keep you guessing, to bring you back for more. But that's just my take. I give writers a little more leeway in building a story than most people. So now here's another article written by Charlie Ridgely, comicbook.com. He gave it a 10 overall, and we're going to work our way down to his review. It's a really short review, not very much to it. And I'm kind of surprised because I was expecting, when I read this earlier, to have more disagreements, but it was actually so short that I thought, you know what, that was actually a good summary of the Incredible Hulk #3. So he says the Hulk battling Southern religious cults and the forces of hell out in the remote mountains, while also protecting a kid doesn't even like. Hold on, let me back up. Tripped over my own words. Hulk battling Southern religious cults and the forces of hell out in the remote mountains while also protecting a kid he doesn't like. He doesn't even like, truly makes for the best Hulk experience possible. I don't know if I would say the best Hulk experience possible, but it was a good experience, enjoyable. It's also incredibly gooey, which I don't know exactly what he means by that, which we don't see a lot in modern Marvel comics, but it's a very welcome change of pace. Maybe he means like the dark nature of the book. Maybe that's what he is referring to when he says gooey. Not exactly sure. When all is said and done, this is going to pair nicely with Immortal Hulk as a delightfully demented 1-2 punch, and I do think that that's what the author was going for. I think they were going for this like 1-2 kind of a match to what was done in the Immortal Hulk to kind of invoke that same vibe. But overall, Incredible Hulk #3 I think is a good book. If you're on the fence and you're thinking, man, what do I want to spend my hard-earned money on? Is the Incredible Hulk #3 worth it? I personally think it is worth it. It was kind of short. There was panels that could have had more story, but I give more leeway in that because that kind of makes me curious and makes me want to come back for more. So that's it. That's what I think. I think the Incredible Hulk #3 is worth a purchase.